This afternoon, Chairman of Parliament Finance Committee, Kuku Kwarteng, is describing calls for an IMF program as unwise. His position follows pressure on government to turn to the fund for a bailout amid Ghana's debt crisis. Take a listen to him speak to George Rafi.
I think for Ghana to subscribe to an IMF bailout would be so unwise.
Why would it be so unwise? I mean, we've done it before, and several countries have done it before.
It's precisely the reason we shouldn't even think about it. I'm surprised that suggestion could come across at all. Look, the IMF comes to your country. When you go to the IMF to say, I have run my economy down, come and bail me out. The IMF, of course, we are members, so we are entitled to go there. They come to your country and they tell you what you can do and what you cannot do because you have come saying you are sick. And the doctor is telling you this is the medicine. What the IMF provides you would be some loan. It's not for free, money for free. That money does not even feed directly into your fiscal. That money is to balance your external payments, to help you soak external pressure. And yet, they come to your country and they tell you to do this, to do that, to essentially to instill discipline. When President Mama was going for an IMF program in 2015 and said it was to provide policy credibility, it was almost to say, well, the way we have run our economy, we do not think people believe us when we say we will do things right. But if the IMF is here holding the stick, then people will now believe that the Ghana government will be kept in check by the IMF. Look, we went for HIPIC and exited in 2006, 2007. We have gone for an IMF program in 2015. It was supposed to be 2 years. By the time the 2 years ended, the economy was in the worst shape. Therefore, we even had to extend it a little before we could exit safely without hurting the image of the economy. How could it be that as a country, we misconduct our economy and our finances, then we go for an IMF program? They come here. 3 years, they go back. And then after what? We exited sometime in 2018, all right? And then, a little over 3 years on, you say you're going back to the IMF.
But just a quick one. Isn't your position more of a philosophical stance than some would say the reality on the ground, that there are problems with revenue,
the reality,
there are fiscal and confidence. That is why some investors were getting out of your bonds? Obviously, it is not just for the financial package, but also having that big brother there to act as a check. Give some confidence to these investors and your DPs that, listen, when government says that they are doing X, there's someone there to check. So we will lend to you, even when it comes to bilateral loans and all the rest. That is the situation as you speak right now. Therefore, coming in with the fund is not out of the situation.
Well, post-HIPIC, a lot of countries have their own challenges. And look, the IMF has reviewed our economy in 2021. If you look at the language of their review of our economy, it does not even appear to me that if we apply to an IMF for a program, they would easily grant it. We don't know. The suggestion
Those are just scenarios, Honorable.
What I'm saying is that, one, I don't see the need. Two, what the IMF comes to do for a country is something a country of, I speak as respectfully as I can, a country of human beings, rational, knowing what you have to do and what you don't have to do. If we cannot have discipline to do that ourselves, and we're going to be running to the IMF, then our relationship with the IMF becomes like a drag.
Our relationship will become like a drug, he says. Well, we're still with this matter because the World Bank Country Director, Pierre Laporte, has indicated that Ghana does not urgently need an IMF program. Take a listen to him speak to George Rafi, this time around on PM Express.
If Ghana goes into IMF program today, it can help certain situations. For instance, if Ghana wants to renegotiate some of the debt, it will put it in a better position Because when it goes to creditors to say, I want to renegotiate my debt, then they will say, okay, what assurances we have that your economic framework is good enough to pay us back what we're going to reschedule. And then an IMF program serves as that guarantee. Okay? But at the same time, a country can go forward and do things without the IMF. Because what the IMF does, it gives you that, that program of reforms, and then it gives you money that goes to help you build your reserves and help you with your balance of payment needs. But to the extent that a country is achieving moderate debt, is having a good revenue collection level on its own, it's managing its fiscal well, it doesn't need the IMF.
And are we doing that?
We've said earlier, there's a mixed picture in Ghana whereby your growth is okay, but your revenues are not strong enough. Your debt is very high. So you can do it without the IMF, but the IMF can always give you something extra flexibility to do more. Like I said, Ghana the minister can tackle his revenue situation on his own. He will help his debt situation on his own. But when he wants, assuming tomorrow he decides, I want to go and reorganize my debt, reschedule a bit, he can do it without...
Strengthen our position as we speak.
Now, the decision as to whether to go or not is a sovereign decision that I cannot pronounce on. I can tell you the benefits and you don't need it. It can help you, but it's up to Ghana to decide.
Said Tekpa is a former finance minister. He joins us via Zoom with his thoughts on these submissions by Koko Kwarteng as well as the World Bank country director. We're grateful, sir, that you could join us. You've listened keenly to both sides of the argument. The World Bank country director, if indeed it's on the table for us to consider.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers and to your listeners. First of all, with the World Bank, I think what we need is even-handedness, and the question is, when we had the single spy, why did the World Bank withdraw budget support if everything was sovereign? In fact, one of the major decisions that prompted us to do the ECF in 2014, not 2015, was principally because the World Bank withdrew budget support even when we had the homegrown policy, which we used to negotiate. So I think the World Bank country, their terrible partners and others. So we need even-handedness so that we are clear in our mind that when the time comes, it's not telling us one thing, and when we are unable to meet our financial obligations and our fiscal continues to deteriorate, they will continue to give the country, the budget support. Honorable Kwarteng was right in that most of IMF money goes to support the central bank. And then it is the world who give budget support. So the question is, if the situation continues to deteriorate and we do not go to the IMF and decisions are being made and they see the deterioration, would we see a recurrence of 2014 where the two boards of directors, that's why we call them Bretton Woods twin institutions, will be taking a decision that is different from what he's telling us now? If they do, then I'm calling for even-handedness. First, the ECF, it wasn't 2 years. There was a conscious decision. We went to Parliament, the records are there. There was a conscious decision to make the ECF overlap the election year so that we can show that we are capable of managing, in an election year. The deficit was 6.1. It was in the Ministry of Finance statement that was issued recently, which means that we came close to the 5%. So, but part of that ECF, Honorable Kwarteng knows that part of it money went to the Ministry of Finance. Another loan that came from the IMF. Yes, it is a loan, and it's a program loan. They went for a dispensation from the IMF board. It's in the report. And we got a waiver to apply it to the fiscal. And he also is aware that even in the current budget under financing, the SDR, which the IMF gave us, part of it is being shown as financing, not balance of payment, support. So these are all candidates that we know. You don't tell us, that IMF money, of the past 3 IMF funds, including the entire 1 billion for the COVID, went into the budget. What was the problem with the budget? And that's why there's a focus. You see, Honorable Kwati mentioned, that he's my good friend anyway, that we went to the Fund for Policy Credibility. I urge him to read Bank of Ghana. I'm not quoting IMF, I'm not quoting an outside source. You should read the Bank for Fiscal Policy Credibility. So fine, I mean, we may have.
Oops, it seems we've lost.
Come out.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems we lost you, somewhere along the line. But Mr. Tekpe, I want to have your clear stance on this particular matter, especially when, once again, the World Bank's country director says that even though our growth margins are averagely okay, we're having issues with our debt sustainability and our revenue.
That is not connecting with your monetary or not connecting with your fiscal. And let me cite an example. At the point we made 14%, or now on a rebase basis, 11%. The fiscal, as a result of single spine, as a result of Doomsaw and others, was affecting the fiscal. So sometimes your decisions are not necessarily linked. And the reason you go for a program is to align the two. And the World Bank country director knows that. That is the situation.
All right.
Now the other thing is that the World Bank president go for their suspension. The World Bank has been cautioning against our fiscal and others. Fitch has been cautioning. Internally, let me come internally. We have had our own academics. We have had our own academics saying that the fiscal situation is not good enough. We have had our think tanks in the last 3 days, including Data Bank, some of the accounting firms, Imani, and others cautioning against the fiscal situation. We have had eminent Ghanaians who have been involved with the management of the economy in the past. What, somebody who is using diplomatic language is telling us the situation is bad. The World Bank itself has told us that the situation is bad. And internally, that is the assessment. When he says that we need a program is not one instrument. A program is not e-levy. So, yes, it is a sovereign right of a country. But let's know that the government is exercising that sovereign right in the interest, including rating agencies and others. So, well, if we want to wind up, let me just say that both internally and externally, the news is bad. Yes, nobody can force us to go to the IMF, even though we had hesitated and gone for 1 billion and another 1 billion from the same IMF. It is up to us to come out with a program, and that is what is missing.
All right.
So the government is exercising that right on our behalf. So the government should simply give us, that program. And I think that we need candidates. We need. Let me just, bring this up. You recall when we were expenditures, bailout.
Okay.
The country director told us the government had a right. Well, we exercise that right, and we are where we are now. So I think we should be very careful, with diplomatic language that may end up making us complacent until the situation gets worse and we go to the same institutions.
Great.
We are being made complacent. I don't think we should, we should take it. We should face reality. We are not servicing debt. We are not paying arrears. We are technically defaulting in many instances because when you postpone under the Paris Club, you are technically defaulted. So the situation is that, and that is what we should be discussing. We are now here. We are again being told the government It's diplomatic,
Great.
talk. And internally, those institutions know very well that the situation in
Great.
Ghana is not good, and they should be candid with us.
Mr. Tekwe, we're grateful for your submission there. He's a former finance minister sharing with us his thoughts on the recent debate as to whether or not to visit the IMF. He's calling for even-handedness when it comes to this decision, both from the side of government and development partners as well. Well, let's now drift our attention to the four pumps, because the Institute of Energy Security has questioned the credibility of the price stabilization and recovery levy, saying the tax has over the past 3 months proven to be unrealistic strategy for bringing down domestic fuel prices. Fritz Moses is with the IAS, and he joins us via Zoom for the reasons behind this particular session through its publication. Fritz Moses, grateful that you could join us. These are one action of the price stabilization levy. Exactly what is your point, and what message are you trying to help government appreciate? I'm afraid we have lost Fritz Moses there, but even as we try connecting back to him on this present matter from the IAS, let's tell you about the South African business community, because it's targeting a triple investment made in 2021. This was disclosed by the South African High Commissioner to Ghana, Grace Mason, at the annual general meeting of the Ghana South Africa Business Chamber. According to her, take a listen.
Presents the major export market for South African goods after Nigeria. Some of the South African companies investing in Ghana include MTN, Standard Bank, Goldfields, MultiChoice, Alliance Media, amongst others. Speaking at this year's annual general meeting of the Ghana South Africa Business Chamber, South African High Commissioner to Ghana, Grace Mason, revealed the plans are underway to increase investments in Ghana.
The post-COVID recovery endeavors has prompted our governments to approve an outward trade investment mission to Ghana. And this we envisage will take place, Mr. President, between the 22nd to the 25th of March. We have also recommended that, and we had recommended the northern region, Tamale, as we have been actively conducting our regional economic profiling of Ghana. Discussions I had with Minister Patel on the margins of the ministerial and had committed that we envisage to continue and to leverage as well, and that we will even double the current trade trajectory that exists between South Africa and Ghana. And we will.
President of the Ghana South Africa Business Chamber, Grant Weber, pledged his outfit's commitment to ensuring the fulfillment of promises by the South African business community to Ghana.
From a business point of view, we have to build on the promises and the remarks that were made on the state visit in December by Cyril Ramaphosa and his delegation. There were memoranda of understanding signed in agriculture and across other industries. So we've got some big targets that have been set for us, and we need to deliver on those. So I think we're delighted that a platform's been put in place during that state visit, and we now need to perform and deliver as stated there.
Well, and that's a report there for you. This weekend, you should be expecting the food chain on your screens. And we put the spotlight. Action has become the source of livelihood for the women there. The over 30-year-old business has become the main economic power for the women in that particular district in the Ashanti region. Prince Apia gives us a snippet of what to expect on Saturday at 6 p.m. on Food Chain. Take a look at it. Well, I'm afraid we couldn't bring that one to you, but please do expect the food chain this Saturday at 6 p.m. with Prince Apia and the team as they explore the potential of oil palm production in the Ashanti region. Let's take you back to our earlier story on the IAS. They are raising key concerns regarding the reintroduction of the price stabilization and recovery levy. Fritz Moses joins us via Zoom. Fritz, you have, the IAS has detailed an extensive, concern regarding the reintroduction of this particular levy. What are the warning signs that you're drawing government attention to regarding the reinstatement of the price stabilization levy?
All right. Thank you very much, Charles. Thanks for having me. Yes, what we have been looking at is of course, the purpose for which the levy was introduced in the Energy Sector Levy Act, Act 899 2015, and then also the current implication that we are seeing at the various pumps. We think that the periodic, we saw it being suspended in 2020, somewhere in the early part of 2020. We saw the suspension. We also saw, of course, the suspension in 2019 and then later on in 2021. What we have been seeing is that in all these cases, you don't see a commensurate reduction in prices as the act, forces the levy to do, as the stabilizing of prices on the local pumps. For example, in just the last period in 2021 November, when we saw the levy suspended on the price holder, in that same window, that's the first pricing window of November, prices actually increased at the various pumps. We saw an addition of at least 10 pesos on majority of the OMCs across the country. And so then that increment defeats the purpose for which the levy was established. And if its removal did not really cause the markets to reduce price at the pumps, then we question the essence of it in the price holder. Again, we also see that currently it has been added in the price holder being this pricing window. The impact we've all seen, on Tuesday, 1st February, all the OMCs will increase their prices to reflect the addition of the price stabilization and recovery levy. Going on into the next few days, we saw yesterday, gold increased their price again, Shell increased. And this increment is coming on the influence of the international market prices, where you have seen prices rise to around $92 per barrel for oil, and at astronomical highs we haven't seen. And these are the factors that we think we should be concentrating on. If the levy in the price holder would cause prices to increase, as we've seen in the last few days, then we don't see why it should be in the levy in the price holder in the first place.
So what's the way forward when it comes to prices at the pumps and cushioning consumers against price hikes? What's the way forward from the IS's perspective?
Well, the first thing that we think government can consider is to review the Act 899, because the purpose for which the PSRL was established was, one, to pay under recoveries for the depreciation of the CD against the dollar for importers, then also to stabilize prices. Then the last one, which is to pay subsidies. We think that these three functions can be things that the levy is currently not fulfilling appropriately. The argument or the conversation that was held or that was proceeded by government for the reintroduction in this pricing window was that it needs to pay subsidies for premix and RFO. We think that if government really wants to do that, then there should be a separate legislation for that. But the current state of the PSRL should be reviewed and possibly removed. We believe that it's too much for 60 pesos on petrol and 14 pesos on a liter of diesel and a kilogram of LPG. Right. Aside that, also we think there was some windfall that we had from our petroleum receipts. We saw the projection from government was prices averaging around $54 per barrel by the end of last year, 2021. Fortunately for Ghana, the prices went even above $65 per barrel on average terms by October of last year. And so that means that our receipts we had generated more revenue, over 30%, compared to what we were expecting of our projection. And so if at the end of the day we are making that windfall from oil receipts, then why can't the revenues that have been accrued from that side also be used to cushion or to pay out for some of, especially the subsidies on the premix and the RFO, so that consumers to still feel the cushioning on the market?
We continue to see how things build up at the various pumps when it comes to the prices of fuel in the coming days and weeks. Fritz Moses, grateful that you could join us from the IS. That's how we end this edition of The Marketplace. For more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com. I'm Charles Aite. It's been a pleasure coming your way this entire week. Let's do the same on Monday. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.